In 1992, when Bill got a Fulbright to go to Brazil for the first time, we went to Ouro Preto, Minas Gerais. And we stayed in a house that used to belong to Elizabeth Bishop. This house now belongs to José Alberto Nemer, who is a Brazilian artist that actually born in Ouro Preto. He was very good friends with Elizabeth Bishop. And for me it was almost like a dream situation to be in her house, because it's a very beautiful house. Was built, was one of the first houses to be built when the city started in the 1700s. Whenever I would like that to read this poem, that I think that's a description of this house, this beautiful poem that Elizabeth Bishop wrote. She considered this house one of the last of her loved houses.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah,
aloud?
yeah.
Okay. Hidden, oh hidden, in the high fog, the house we live in, beneath the magnetic rock. Rain, rainbow-ridden, where blood, black, bromelias, lichens, owls, and the lint of the waterfalls cling, familiar, unbidden. In a dim age of water, the brook sings loud from a rib cage of giant fern. Vapor climbs up the thick growth effortlessly, turns back, holding them both, house and rock, in a private cloud.
Beautiful, thank you.
You're welcome.
During her lifetime, the Elizabeth Bishop was not so much respected by her work, but since her death in 1979, her reputation grew, and many critics have referred to her as one of the most important poets of the last century. She arrived in Brazil in 1942, and she was intended to stay just for a while in Brazil, and she ended up being in Brazil for almost 17 years. There she met Lota Macedo Soares, that was an architect, a very well-known socialite. Seems that was a very interesting person. I have actually an aunt that was friend of her, and she always talk about Lota, very respectful, because Lota did, you know, that garden when you it's not coming from the international airport but the domestic airport in Rio, that big garden in the shoreline of Praia do Flamengo, when you see the Sugarloaf. Well, she planted that garden. 2 kilometers garden is the biggest gardens in public gardens in Latin America. When she started to work on this place, she was so taken by this work that she kind of neglected the relationship, and Elizabeth accepted to come to teach at Harvard, and this I think, and Lotte didn't like that, and this caused a little bit of difficulty in the relationship, and then Lotte followed her to the United States and discovered that she had found another person, and she was very distracted and took her life, and this was a tragedy. And there is a poem that I discovered that he actually Nehmer gave to his wife, and when they married, a poem by Elizabeth Bishop that I think that's unbelievably beautiful. Is like close as 2 pages in a book that read each other in the dark. It's the relationship between 2 lovers, you know, it's so beautiful. Elizabeth Bishop had a very tragic life. Her infancy, her father died when she was a very young kid, and her mother also. She never, after 7 years old or 5 years old, something like that, she never more saw her mother because her mother was interned in a hospital because she had dementia. Brazil was a kind of you know, a very warm place for her, and I'm sure she enjoyed to be there. You know, I keep thinking why she stayed there for so long, for almost 17 years. Although she had money, she had wealth, her poetry celebrates very much the working class settings, the factories, the farms, the fishing villages. This is something that kind of, I think that's very common in Brazilian literature. Yeah, I think that she's a very incredible poet. And she translated a beautiful book called The Diary for Helena Morley. That's actually a diary of a kid that grew up in Diamantina, one of those mining cities in Minas Gerais. You advise you to read it because it's a charming book. And she translated a lot of very good Brazilian poetry, like Carlos Drummond de Andrade and other, João Cabral de Melo Neto, that is a very difficult poet to translate. She translated him. But she's a good poet, no?
Mm-hmm. She really is.
She was a consultant in poetry at the Library of Congress, that now is called Poet Laureate, from 1949 and 1950.
What year was she born?
She born in 1911.
Wow.
Yeah, she actually, my mother born that year. And I think that year produced an incredible crop of incredible people, because John Cage also born in 1911. Yeah, I know incredible people. Kelly Ferring here, born in 1911.
Was he really?
Yeah, I love Kelly.
I did too.
Yeah, I met an incredible amount of people that born in this 1911. That was the conjunction of the stars in that year must be had been something
true.
out of you know.
Yeah.
when José Alberto Nemer invited us to go there and to stay in this house, for me it was an incredible surprise to see how kept the house is. He kept the house like a museum for her.
I'll be loving you always with a love that's true, always. When the things you've planned need a helping hand, I will understand always, always. Days may not be fair, always. That's when I'll be there, always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always.
Ouro Preto is a very interesting city. In Ouro Preto, they built the first theater of the Americas. Well, Ouro Preto was founded in the 17th century. It's an incredible city. It's a former colonial mining town. And was designated by the UNESCO as a World Heritage Site because it's the biggest assembling of Baroque architecture in the world. It's outstanding, the architecture in Ouro Preto. And it's not a very big city, it's like 70,000 people that lives there. It was there that the split of Brazil from Portugal started, the movement for freedom, because, you know, it was from there that most part of the gold that Portugal took from Brazil came from. And has, as I said, the architecture is incredible, but the artwork inside of these churches are unbelievable too. The two major artists in the town, Aleijadinho, that's the translation would be the little crypt, and Manuel Costa Taide, that was a painter. Aleijadinho was a sculptor. They both black artists. Manuel Costa Taide, he born in 1762. And he has this, there is this church of São Francisco that he painted, the Ascension of the Virgin, and she is a black Madonna. He tried to found a school of visual arts in Ouro Preto. Ouro Preto was a very cosmopolitan city in the 1700s.
The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost that their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day. Accept the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Then practice losing farther, losing faster, place and names, and where it was you meant to travel. None of these will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch, and look, my last, or next to last, of the 3 loved houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and vaster, some realms I own, 2 rivers, a continent. I miss them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the joking voice, a jester I love. I shan't have lied. It's evident the art of losing's not too hard to master. Though it may look like, write it like disaster.
It's incredible.
It is.
Yeah, I think that she's a very incredible poet. When she writes this poetry here about the house,
That was beautiful.
yeah, I love that poetry because I think that really describes the house. When you wake up in her house, it's just like you are in the clouds. Ouro Preto has this fog in the morning. It's a city is valleys and mountains and valleys and mountains, and then this cloud stays there for the whole morning, and it's just like that coming from a dream. It was a pleasure to be there, and I knew Ouro Preto before I did this trip. I did this trip mostly to introduce Bill to Minas, and for me it was just like a dream.